You're listening to Gen XP. Let's play some games.
Previously on the Shattered World of Voar, the Lonely Horizon sought a port of refuge to stop and make repairs after its battle with the pirates of the Song of Iron. An unknown mist-covered island looked to be the chance the ship needed, and Theric and Avo disembarked to look for supplies. Theric's familiar, the fey owl called Hoot, was killed on a scouting mission, and that drove the fairy wizard to go in search of the killers. The two of them set out to explore the mist-shrouded pines, only to be attacked by a black panther. Driving the beast off, they took a moment to collect themselves, and discovered a source of water higher up the mountainside. Stalked by hunting cats, the two found a strange cave behind a waterfall that for some reason scared the panthers away. What could lie inside, and what formed this strange rounded tunnel? Questions hang heavy in their minds. Welcome back to the Shattered World of Voar.
The cave is no more than 5 to 6 feet wide and only roughly 5 feet tall. Avo, you're forced to duck a bit as you enter the cave. Not a huge amount, I don't think, but
just over 6 foot.
It is a little uncomfortable. You're kind of crouched down a little bit. Would one of you be in front or behind, or how would you be going? There's no way you'll be doing it side by side. So who would be leading the foray down into the dark?
I'll lead.
So Avo, as you pick your way along deeper into this cave, away from the sound of the rushing waterfall, the light of the canary lantern is throwing a soft, almost yellow glow on the walls. One thing you both notice, after a few moments, you haven't traveled far in, you're maybe 10 or 15 feet in, but you have seen caves before. Both of you have seen caves, or have been in caves, even in small forays here and there. In fact, when you went into the dungeon in the Highlands, back on Nova Sona, that was a cave at first. The cave on Nova Sona went from rough, rocky walls into worked craftsmanship with stone pillars and blocks. This goes from a rough outer surface where the waterfall was to a nearly perfectly smooth cave. The walls show no signs of imperfections. You also see, though neither of you are stone crafters, you see no signs of a smith's tool, nothing that would have said that it was carved this way. Just a smooth, rounded cave that goes deeper and deeper in. And it angles downwards, not at a treacherous angle, but just a slow descent down into the body of this island. And every part of it is smooth.
It does appear to go deep, though.
It does appear to go deep, and the small echoes that you make with your footsteps or small, bumps against the wall do seem to echo into the distance and then lose themselves.
Theric, I think you should go head back. Fly back. I'll wait toward the mouth of the cave.
How far can you see down there?
60 feet.
Do we want to see a little bit farther than that?
I'm just thinking, I don't know that we have the time.
We can go from here. I just could throw a ball of fire down there.
Don't know how far it goes, but if you'd like.
I can double your vision distance. I can go to 120 feet and just see if something comes out. How does that sound?
Go for it.
And at that, I start rubbing my hands together, and a ball of fire starts to form, and then as soon as it forms, I chuck it down. Firebolt, I'm not aiming for anything. It's got a range of 120 feet, though, so I'm really just using it to illuminate.
Okay. Give me an Arcana check, just to see how well you can angle this without knowing exactly where the tunnel goes.
17.
Okay. The ball of fire flies down, illuminating the rounded tunnel. You hear the crackle of flames as it zips away. And about 50 to 60 feet down the arc of this tunnel, it impacts on stone, and you can see at a little bit further down than where you were able to see from your present location, that the tunnel starts to branch out, but it also looks like the stone gets rougher where it impacted. Like this tunnel, this cave was tunneled up and out of this area, not down in. You still believe, I think both of you would believe that this was crafted in some way, though the skill is beyond you. But whatever the stone is, the stone face that the firebolt exploded on slightly and briefly illuminated, it's much rougher down there.
Okay. I'll be back. And I book out of the cave and take flight,
Okay.
angling to go over the trees.
Okay, so you run out of the cave, duck around the waterfall, and jump into the air, your wings beating furiously as you climb about 200 feet in order to get over top of the ring of trees that circles the pond.
I was going to have to do this again.
Yeah. These are the equivalent of redwood-sized trees, but they're pine, a pine forest. But high up into the air, shrouded in mist, and then you start to fly at high speeds down towards the landing of the Lonely Horizon. So within a moment, Theric is gone. Abo, you find yourself 10 to 15 feet inside the cave. Your vision is far excellent compared to a human, but you do know that wherever this tunnel splits off, you can't quite see that far into the cave.
I am going to take a seat, my attention more focused down the cave, since the creatures outside didn't seem like they really wanted to come in.
Okay. All right. You take a seat. You notice that now that you're sitting down and you've had a moment to maybe calm and center yourself, and Theric left a moment ago. Outside, when you were sitting next to the waterfall, it was what you would have called a chilly day. Nova Sona, where you've spent quite a bit of time, was a near tropical island. It's not been something that you've been too focused on since you arrived on this island, but it is cooler than you're used to until you were inside here. You realize sitting down in this tunnel, there is a warmth to the rock and the general air, and it seems you can feel a little bit of air movement, the warm air coming from down below moving up past you. Theric, you fly accompanied by the sounds of crows in the distance occasionally. Every once in a while you see the flash of the black shape in the trees below you as the cats try to pace you, but they don't have the ability to travel a treetop at the speed that you are able to fly. And within 5 to 6 minutes you have flown the quarter mile back down to, assuming you were hurrying, you've flown the quarter mile back down to the Lonely Horizon, which is perched on a rocky outcrop on the side of this island, a short distance from the tree line, no more than 50 to 60 yards away. You can see Ranford and Webb.
Before I crest the tree line, I want to stop over the trees and look down and see how many cats I see.
As you near the edge of the tree line, when you do this, you said before you get there, go ahead and give me a perception check.
I got an 8.
An 8, okay. You think that it's possible that they may have stopped following you when you got near the edge, because you don't see any. But you do see Ranford and Webb. It looks like they've felled a tree and are using axes and saws to try to basically quarter it up. They're breaking it down into more usable or transferable pieces. And you also see Lonnie and Nani are near the edge of the tree line as you get into the clearing, and they are harvesting, looks like berries off of bushes.
As I come over the clearing, I will start to go down and I'll be careful, there's big cats in that forest back there.
You hear Lonnie and Nani. They nod to you, but they start jabbering at each other in that language that you don't quite understand. And you see one of them, the one with pigtails, pulls out like a long skinning knife and starts walking into the forest before her sister grabs her and starts shaking her head no. But Ranford and Webb kind of nod, and they said, Ranford says, I heard something moving around in the bushes not too long ago, but nothing came out. So, and you look down and they've got crossbow and a weapon on their side that both Ranford and Webb have, just in case something happens.
I say there's lots of them, and we have to go get Avo. But on the plus side, Avo's with water.
All right. Yeah, that sounds great. Well, the captain and the quartermaster are on the ship. So's the first mate, but I don't think he's feeling well yet. So we're just working on what the captain told us to do. But is Abo okay?
He was when I left him. We just didn't want to have to go back through those woods. Like I said, a lot of cats. I think I counted around 20.
You see Webb immediately puts himself on the opposite side of Ranford from the forest when you say that. He doesn't make it obvious, but he sets his axe down, steps on the other side, and starts looking at the tree, but you can see he's putting distance between himself and the forest when you say there's about 20. Ranford kind of nods, and he's like, okay, and he hollers over to the two halfling women. He's like, you two watch out! You'd be nothing more than a snack to one of those. And they make some very rude gestures back to him and then go back to picking berries.
I just chuckle and take flight again and head back to the ship.
Okay. On the Lonely Horizon, you actually see on the captain's deck, Captain Fairfax and Quartermaster Hillman are in conversation as you come flying back. You see Quartermaster Hillman has a fairly annoyed look at you as you come along, but Captain Fairfax says, Mr. Therick, it's good to see that you've returned, and where would Mr. Avo be?
I say so. I've got good news and bad news. Which would you like first?
The news that has to do with ignoring my order to stay near the ship.
We didn't go far, not even a mile. Isn't that staying near the ship?
What's the good news, Mr. Therick?
We found water. Lots of it.
Perfect. Fresh water?
That's a waterfall.
Not salt water?
No. I didn't drink it.
Okay.
I think Avo did, but he's not here. You're going to have to ask him if it was any good.
Is Avo alive?
Oh, yeah. He's with the water.
Okay. All right. And the bad news, Mr. Therick?
There's a lot of big black cats between us and the water and those woods.
All right. Aggressive?
They appear to be.
Okay.
I say, look, normally I probably wouldn't have gone too far, but something killed my owl. But he's my friend. I just got him, and I had to go see what happened. And it's about a quarter mile. It's not far.
Fair enough. The ship is needing some repairs before we can actually take off again. But you can take Ranford, Webb, Lonnie, and Nani. They can carry, let's say, a barrel between the four of them and at least get that back to the ship. But I'd rather... Did you find anything that we could use as an adhesive? The side of the ship is pretty badly damaged, and we're going to need to be able to repair it.
Didn't they give you the... Avo stepped in something that Ranford and Webb said that they were going to...
Yes, Mr. Ranford and Mr. Webb did return with an orange substance that would work fine. We'll need a bit more of it, though. Quite a bit more of it.
Well, that's with Avo, too. We saw... There was only a little, though. And Avo is in the cave that the cats won't go in. So I don't think that's a good thing. And if we want more of your sticky substance, I think we're going to have to go in the cave. Because it looks like it might have come out of the cave.
All right. Captain Fairfax looks over to Quartermaster Hillman, who then whistles very loudly with her fingers to the crew that are gathering. Both Ranford, Webb, Lonnie, and Nani, they come rushing back over to the ship. Quartermaster Hillman goes down below as Captain Fairfax looks to be addressing the five of you. Is all right? Master Therick's going to be guiding the four of you to a water source. Fill water skins, but more importantly, take a bucket. Each of you take a bucket and see if you can recover some of this orange sticky substance that you located here. If you can find that, we can get the ship repaired. We can fly to wherever the water is. That's not a problem. But for right now, the ship is landlocked. We could theoretically take off if there was an emergency, but we're damaged, and it'd be better if we didn't have to. Between the 5 of you, you should be able to get to where Mr. Theric and Mr. Avo managed to get, recover Mr. Avo, along with some water and some of this sealant. Get back as quick as you can. And he looks up at the sky, and you can see that the sun is roughly noonday sun. You arrived here first thing in the morning. You've been here for a few hours. He says, make sure, take weapons, take precautions, do what you can, keep each other safe, and get back as quick as you can. You see that Quartermaster Hillman comes back out carrying buckets that she hands to each of the 4 that you're going to be leading back up to this location. Cutting back to Avo, you've been in the cave for maybe 10 to 15 minutes now, just kind of listening, paying attention to see if there's any sounds, any movement. You feel that continual draft of warm air coming up. It doesn't rush, it's not fast. It's just enough that you can feel that movement. You also, over time, become aware of a slight, like a mildewed smell. Though inside the cave that you're in, there is no vegetation that you can see, so you're not sure, and with the direction of the air moving, it wouldn't be coming from outside. So you're not sure what that smell is or where it's coming from, but something deeper in the cave smells slightly of mildew. But 10, 15 minutes has gone by. Would Avo do anything or just maintain a watch, basically?
He's patient. He's gonna sit and wait.
Okay.
But definitely stay alert.
All right. Cutting back to Theric, you're leading the 4 of them along the same path that you used to get to the pond originally.
And as we enter with them, keep your eyes on the trees. Look up.
Okay. You see that Webb is carrying his crossbow and a bucket. Ranford has his saber out as well as a bucket in his offhand. Lonnie and Nani, one of them, the one with pigtails, is carrying 2 buckets. The other one with the long braid is carrying what looks like a meat cleaver, and that's your party behind you at this point. So I'd like to see how well you're able to navigate through the woods, leading this group, and what sort of attention you draw. What I'd like is for you to give me, how would you like to lead them? You can use stealth. That's certainly a skill that would apply to this situation, though it is stealth against native animals to the area. You could use survival. You could use, I would let you make a straight, let's say, wisdom check if you wanted to. How would you like to guide these people through the forest and try to either not attract attention from the cats or present such a public face as to drive the cats away?
I am not a wisdom type person, so I am going to have to try and out-stealth these cats.
Okay.
I'm more sneaky than they are.
Sure. So rather than trying to do it like a show of force or to be loud and obnoxious and drive the cats away, you're using what stealth you can, guiding your group through. So what I'll do is go ahead and make a stealth check. I'm going to make one for the party as well. And I'll add your bonus to the party, whatever they rolled. So what is your stealth bonus?
8.
8, okay. You manage to pick your way along the path, kind of keeping an eye on the group that's following you, pointing to places that they shouldn't walk, guiding them through as much covered trail as possible, and maintaining as quiet of an atmosphere as possible. You make it back to the location where you were attacked the first time without any ill effect. No ill encounters. Every once in a while, I think you hear somewhere in the distance, in the very thick pine trees, a growl, but nothing has come near you so far. And again, you're met with that near silence once you do enter the pine forest. There are occasionally a crow somewhere in the distance, but you don't hear the buzzing of insects. You don't hear the skittering of squirrels or the chitter of chipmunks. No rabbits run in the forest. No foxes prowl. It is a very quiet place, with only the very occasional noise either from your party, a cat somewhere far in the distance, or a crow high in the trees. Once you get there, you kind of orient yourself. You're starting to be able to smell that fresh water and hear in the very far distance the slight roar of the waterfall. But go ahead and give me another stealth check to
This area that looks familiar, I stop.
All right.
And I'm going to look around and I'm turning around and go, shh.
But you're going to do another stealth check?
Yes.
Okay.
14.
All right. The trail picks up as you begin to climb higher and higher along the mountain. The sound of rushing water, more and more mist in the air. It becomes a little bit harder to see even because of the mist that kind of fills the air. You're noticing also, as the noonday sun has picked up, that mist seems to hang a little bit heavier in the day underneath the tree cover. Nearing the top, I think that as you're about to crest to a near flatter area where you can see the waterfall through the trees. You're starting to see the mountain top that it falls off of. As you're nearing the top, there is a sudden rush of black fur claws and yellow lantern eyes that comes rocketing out of the side bushes towards one of the halfling that's carrying the buckets. She manages to duck below the grasping claws of this panther as it lands, pivots, and lets out a roar. And it is initiative with you and the cat and the group. Avo, inside the tunnel, barely able to be heard over the roar of the water. You've been here for probably a good hour now, waiting for Theric to return. You do hear somewhere in the distance this very faint roar of a cat. Would that prompt you to do anything, or would you just assume that was the cat?
There's a lot of cats out there.
Right. And as far as you know...
Theric's airborne. I'm not really worried about him.
True. Sorry. As far as you know, Theric was going to be flying back, or the ship was going to be coming. So you'd maintain?
Yep.
Okay. What'd you get?
I didn't roll. You were talking. Okay. I was waiting. 11.
Okay. You win initiative. Go ahead and take your actions. What would you like to do? So where it is, you're at the front of this line, followed by Ranford. Lonnie and Nani are in the middle, and Webb is in the back. It's not necessarily a straight conga line or anything. It's just kind of a rough pick through the forest. The cat is to the left side of the group.
How far away from me is the cat?
Maybe 15 feet.
I'm going to cast Lightning Lure. Theric will notice the cat comes out, and then he will start chanting a spell, and he'll make a whipping motion with his hand. Mm-hmm. And when he makes this whipping motion, a little leash of lightning comes from his hand and shoots towards the panther. So then I pull back, trying to pull it towards me.
He rolled a nat 1 on his strength savings throw. So a crackling leash of lightning snaps out from your fingers, wraps around, I'm going to say his neck and upper torso, and you yank him back. How far towards you?
10 feet.
Okay, so he's within 5 feet of you.
And if he ends within 5 feet of me, he's going to take a D8 of lightning damage.
He ends 5 feet from you.
So he will take a D8 of damage,
okay.
And 7 points.
7 points of damage. Okay. He roars angrily from the bite of the lightning. You can hear just this deep rumble in his chest. He snaps and claws at the lightning as it drags him. Eventually, the lightning releases him. It is his turn. He bolts and tries to run. He is within 5 feet of Ranford, who does take a swing at him because he has a weapon drawn. Ranford misses, though. Just a quick slash across the middle of the air where the panther once was, as it dives back into the bushes and is gone. It runs off into the darkness of the forest. You can hear it. It's not trying to be quiet, and I think the roar of its grumbling from the lightning does echo a bit. The scene quiets back to just that roar of the white noise of the waterfall, and you can see Ranford and Webb are on high edge. Webb's crossbow kind of swings back and forth to either side. Lonnie and Nani kind of like touch base with each other.
Point that thing somewhere else, man.
Yep. He realizes that he might not be having the best safety with the weapon and stops pointing it, but his eyes dart back and forth. Ranford's sword is in a full ready position. He's on guard.
Say, okay, you guys hear the water. You go, I'll watch.
So you are at a point, you're at the very edge of the waterfall clearing, so you can see the water now.
So you guys go, I'll watch, and make sure nothing's going to jump out of the woods at you.
So as they start to pick forward, Ranford's like, where are we going? Just to the water?
Run to the waterfall.
To the waterfall?
Yep.
Like around the back of it?
Yep. You'll see a cave. Avo should hopefully still be in the cave.
Okay. And then he kind of like starts ushering Lonnie and Nani forward. Webb is... You can tell that Webb is probably trying to pass Lonnie and Nani, but without looking like he's doing that. He's trying to get there. He doesn't want to be in the back necessarily. But they kind of start rushing along. Nani does stop at one point before she gets to the waterfall and grabs like a handful of water and tastes it and then like shakes her head excitedly, and then they kind of move along to the back of the waterfall. You start to hear voices. You hear Ranford's voice. Avo, are you there?
Down here.
Okay. His voice does echo down the cave a little bit, and yours echoes back out of the cave. But would you move out to meet them?
We'll stand, and then I will move to the entrance of the cave.
You move out to meet them. You see that Theric has returned with Ranford, Webb, Lonnie, and Nani. He's returned with these crew members who are quickly filling water skins from the waterfall or the standing pond. And you see they all are carrying buckets, but you see no sign of the Lonely Horizon.
No ship.
We have to get more of that adhesive. And there's a little bit here, so I think we're going to have to go into the cave.
Did we happen to see any more further down the cave where we were?
Not yet. You've only gone about 10 or 15 feet into the cave.
Okay. Can certainly go down and search. Just wanted to make sure they weren't going to leave us.
So Webb looks...
So what, you've never wanted to be a Puma King?
Maybe someday.
Webb looks at the cave and he's like, it's kind of dark in there. Do we have any way to... You said we were coming to get water.
I had a canary light.
Okay. Oh, so you got a lantern? He's like, okay, I'll be next to you then. So Webb is the human in the group.
Okay.
Ranford's a half-orc. Lonnie and Nani are halflings.
Webb's practical.
Webb is practical, and he can't see in the dark.
I'll lead.
All right. You do hear Ranford say, is there anything in there? Or how far have you gone in?
The cats apparently don't like this place, so I'm assuming something has them afraid of it.
Do you guys want to wait here and we'll yell if we need you?
Webb says no. Webb immediately interjects, no, we should stick together.
Okay.
Lonnie and Nani just seem content to go wherever they're told. They're happily drinking some of the water. The one with the butcher cleaver, which I think that Avo, you spent a little bit more time with them. You recognize that one as Nani, the one with the butcher cleaver. She keeps looking towards the woods and occasionally licking her lips. And other than that, Webb has said we should stick together. Ranford is willing to take orders at this point because the cat thing spooked him a bit. You can see he's kind of pale, but I mean he is he is an active member of a crew that gets into scraps. He's not a stranger to a fight, but this is a new situation for him. It doesn't look like Ranford is really an outdoors person.
I say, lead the way.
That makes
Avo.
a few of us. All right, I will. I'll head in.
All right.
It gets kind of tight in here.
Yeah, Ranford is just as tall as you are, Avo. He has to duck quite a bit in order to get in. Webb actually only just slumps his shoulders a bit, and both Theric, Lani, and Nani are
Do
fine.
you two want to go a little bit ahead so you're out of the light?
That works for me.
And
I will have my weapon drawn as well.
So you're sending Avo and Ranford are going to kind of creep forward? Okay.
Yes.
Ranford also has his saber drawn. You start picking your way down the very smooth tunnel. You can see that Ranford is dragging his hand on the wall and looking at it in a very confused and curious fashion. But he is following you, not close. None of them are necessarily cowards, but he's following you, Avo, just trying to maintain some sort of a patrol distance with you. Followed by Theric. Are you going to be in the middle of the group so that the light extends both in front and behind? Okay. And then
Yes, I will be.
you notice that it is Webb immediately right behind you with his crossbow, and then Lani and Nani trailing.
And I'm watching behind us too, as well as in front.
Okay. As you pick your way down further and further in, now that you're back, Theric, you also notice the slight warm draft coming up out as you get further into the cave. It's warmer in here than it was outside. You also, further in, you get down to about 50, 60 feet in as the tunnel slowly arcs downwards. That slight musty mildew smell is now more apparent now that you're further in. Avo, you had already recognized it. It's new to you, Theric, but you guys get down to that T spot where the firebolt had impacted on the rock wall. You see the little scorch mark. Natural rock wall. This doesn't look like it was carved, but as you're now down there, getting there first, Avo, this doesn't look like it is carved, but there are no sharp edges to any of the rock. Even though it's not smooth the way that the tunnel was, every bit of this rock, which is, as you would expect, a more natural formation, but there is not a sharp edge. Every bit of it is.
It's been worn down?
Yeah, like it's been worn down, almost you know that rocks that would stay in running water would slowly wear down to a smooth edge, but this is very dry inside this cavern. Though maybe it wasn't always so.
So here it splits.
It splits off, it heads to the left and the right. The left passage gets to be very rough terrain, it looks like. Kind of is up and down, still in a general downward fashion, but it looks like it'll be a lot of climbing around to get over lumps and bumps in the floor. I would say crags, but again, that rounded thing, it almost looks like you would imagine water moving that suddenly turned to stone and stayed that way. But it is going to be a rough walk to the left. The right hand side, while still natural formation, it looks like the floor of that side of the tunnel is more worn down. It'll be an easier walk. It also heads down. Which way would you head?
This way looks more inviting.
So you head to the right,
Yes.
picking your way further and further down. You, all following along, you get maybe what you would guess is 100 yards down inside this cave, which is a good depth for a cave. Neither of you nor any of the crew, as far as you can tell, have done a lot of spelunking in your time. What caves you've seen or been in have been small. When you were back in the Highlands, you encountered the one cave that was the mouth of the Colossus, but even the dungeon that you went into in the Highlands, 100 yards was larger than the whole dungeon. About 100 yards down, it has become as warm as a sunny day on Nova Sona. It is. You begin to feel a little bit of sweat form inside your tunics. You can feel, the little bit of warm air skin as it moves past you. It's not uncomfortable, just warm. Much warmer than the outside air. And the smell of that mildew has become much stronger. And somewhere in the distance, the cave kind of winds back and forth in this very lazy fashion. It's not a straight walk the way the initial entrance was. It kind of winds back and forth, lazily drifting left and right as it always descends downwards.
Is it dry or damp or?
Absolutely dry.
Okay.
No. It feels like this has not had moisture in it in 100 years.
Makes that scent even stranger. Yeah.
Avo, it smells like your room from the carnival.
You do hear Webb say, "What? I don't. Is this what caves are always like? I thought there'd be like more, like weren't there supposed to be things that hang down from the top and poke up from the bottom?"
I shrugged my shoulders. No idea.
This is new experience to me, but this looks like something has worn it smoother than it should be.
Ranford says, "Something like what? Anything you've ever heard of?"
I have no idea. Maybe we'll find out.
He kind of grumbles under his breath. And as you pick your way a little bit further along, maybe another 20 feet goes by of carefully picking your way along this smooth surface. The hallway takes a hairpin turn to the left. And give me a reflex saving throw, Avo.
Dexterity?
Yes, I'm sorry. Give me a dexterity saving throw, Avo.
An 11.
Okay. You step to the left as it kind of cuts back almost hairpin. You see the wall, so you step around to the left, and your foot hits empty air as you start to tumble forward as the floor is not there anymore. It had ended abruptly at that hairpin. Luckily, Ranford is able to grab you and pull you back. He did make his savings throw for that. So he grabs you and pulls you back. You just feel a hand grab the back of your jerkin and drag you back into the tunnel at that hairpin turn. And you look down, and there's a little echo as you kind of bounce against the wall. And that there's a open pit that interrupts this tunnel that drops maybe 30 feet down into darkness. Can you see, how far can you see down into dark?
I can see 60.
Okay, so it goes down about 30 feet before you see a flat stone floor to this. It's not, there's no spiky rock formations, there's nothing down there but a flat stone floor and another tunnel that leads further in and downwards. You do see the long decayed bones of a cat, of a large cat that has just been left in that hole. No skin or sinew left, no organs. Those bones have been in there for a very long time, and they're just laying down there. Across the pit, the tunnel does continue as well. The pit is about 20 feet wide. So your options now are to go down into the pit and follow the tunnel down there, or to try to get across this into the next tunnel.
First off, grace be with you, friend.
Yeah, Ranford kind of like pats your back. He's like, if I was in front, I would have went down there for sure. I just saw you start to fall, and it's all I could think of was to grab you.
Looks like a cat didn't fare quite as well down at the bottom.
Ranford looks down. He says, "Yeah, I thought that cats were pretty agile. How'd one fall down there?"
Usually land on their feet and walk away from falls.
Right, and that's, I mean, knowing it's there, I think I could even jump down there and be okay. Why wouldn't it?
That's a good question.
You see Lonnie and Nani kind of push forward, and they're like peeking between your hips, looking down and kind of babbling a little bit. You do hear the one word you recognize in their tribal as food, but they're mostly shaking their head no when they say
How
food.
old is the carcass down there?
It's 30 feet away in the dark. If you want to go
Okay.
down and inspect it, you can.
Well, it's 20 feet across.
About 20 feet across, and the walls in this area where the pit opens up are smooth.
So we don't really have a way to get
I
to
mean,
the other side.
You can try to climb it if that's what you'd like to do. Smooth would be very difficult.
Well, maybe you don't have a way to get to the other side. I can go down and check it out a little bit if you want.
For us up front, the easier path seems well, I've got rope if we want to descend down into the...
Or I can make you guys a rope. We can make a rope across. You guys can hand over hand it. I do happen to have some pitons.
Around then, Nani excitedly points down at the cat skeleton. And then I think that she kind of points and babbles for a second, and then looks up to you, Avo, and she switches to common, and you remember her common is kind of broken, and she says, goo, orange goo. And she's pointing at something that you didn't notice, but as she points it out, you realize that near the base of this cat's skull, buried in a layer of dust, there does look to be a layer of this orange goo down there.
All right. Nice call. Down it is.
Okay. How do you want to get down? It's 30 feet.
30 feet and it's smooth.
It's smooth. Yep.
Do you want to... You said you've got pittance.
I do.
Shall we... That's going to be loud, but hey.
Is there any other way to tie a
No,
rope?
that's...
You don't see anything else that you could tie a rope with. But with pittons, you can... Nani can pound the pittons in with the back of her hatchet, or her cleaver.
The pitton.
Okay. So she takes it and starts the first strike is deafening in this cave. It's just bounces and echoes and bounces and echoes. But she pounds the pitton in and quickly ties they are expert at knot work and rigging, so she quickly ties the rope to it, secures it, and throws it over the edge.
If there is anything alive in here, I'm pretty sure it knows we're here now.
Maybe.
Ranford says, I'll go first. Grabs the rope and starts rappelling down.
I'll wait for him to get to the bottom and then I'll follow.
He gets to the bottom and kind of like, as soon as he hits the bottom, his sword is back out of its sheath and he's just kind of looking around. You can see that there's only one exit from the bottom of this. But he's just he puts himself between the rope and that exit and is just kind of at the ready while he's waiting for everybody else to climb down. But Avo, you can descend without a problem. With a rope, this is easy enough. Lonnie and Nani scamper down the rope. Webb, standing next to you, Theric, he's like, this just seems like a bad idea. It just all right, whatever. And he slings the crossbow over and he looks at you, Theric, and he goes, just don't let anything eat me while I'm down here, please, because I don't think my mother would really like to hear about that.
Sure, because, and as he's going on, I say, because I can carry it without a problem.
He grabs the rope and starts to shimmy down the rope. Theric, you, I imagine, fly down.
I just step off the edge.
Okay.
Amateurs.
Lonnie and Nani, when you all reach the bottom, are kind of poking at the skeleton of the cat, looking at it and kind of jabbering back and forth. There is kind of like what you saw outside of the cave mouth, just a small globule of this orange substance that's lying in the dust next to this cat. But one of them does scoop it up with like the edge of a dagger and tosses it in the bucket. Even with the dust, you notice that they have to wipe it inside the bucket to get it to stick, because the dust itself doesn't seem to impact its ability to be sticky.
Did anyone have... I'm addressing Theric. Did anyone back at the boat have any idea what this substance was? No?
Nope. I say, but then again, I didn't ask. I mean, nobody seemed to know what it was. The captain just called it adhesive, so I'm going to assume if he knew what it was, he would have told me what it was.
Well, hopefully we'll find some more down here.
You hear Webb. They didn't say what it was. They seemed to think that it was going to work pretty well, and Cilantro said it definitely wasn't food. But, yeah, should work.
Alright, moving forward.
Avo, are you leading the way again?
Yes.
Okay, this tunnel resumes that very smooth texture like the original tunnel behind the waterfall. It goes back to a nearly perfect smoothness. And it looks like you're starting to get the impression that just like from that natural place, more natural place, out to the outside world, that smooth tunnel was a connector, a connection in the stone. This looks like a connection from the pit where the cat was to someplace else. You're starting to make that connection, that the reasons why there are different, like there is definitely an intelligent hand at work in this. This doesn't feel natural to you.
Okay. Still weapon at the ready.
Okay. This kind of starts to corkscrew down. It's not heading in a single direction, but just corkscrews down at a steady pace for about, you guess that you have descended maybe 50 to 60 feet. When you're still, it hasn't gotten any warmer than last I mentioned. It's warm day on Nova Sona level, where there's a little bit of sweat building up inside of your shirt. But your very keen eyes start to detect a faint bluish light coming. It's so faint yet, but coming from somewhere down below as you start to corkscrew down this tunnel. There is some light from something inside this cave.
Okay.
And you can tell that Ranford hasn't seen that yet. He's just continuing on.
I'll put up a hand.
Okay. He stops and everybody comes to a halt.
And then I will take a lighter step to my movement forward.
Okay. Go ahead and give me a stealth check.
17.
17. Ranford understands that you wanted him to wait, so he stays there and waits. Theric, you see Abo start to quietly move forward. You can see he's gone to a very light step. He's being very cautious. Would you stay with the group, or what would you do?
I'll stay right where I'm at.
Okay. Abo, you creep further along this corkscrew tunnel, each step into slightly higher levels of very faint blue light. You're not sure where it's coming from yet, because of the direction the tunnel's taking you. The smell of that mildew increases as you near whatever the source of this light is, and you start to hear a faint clicking noise, a scratching noise, that something touching stone that is abrasive, perhaps. Continue creeping along.
Yes.
Further and further, you're maybe 20, 30 feet beyond where your friends are waiting. As the tunnel itself finally ends the corkscrew direction that it was traveling and starts to open out into a small chamber with a crack on the side of the far wall. This chamber itself is flat floor but rounded walls, much like what you've seen the entire time you've been in here. The far side of the wall, there is a jagged, it's the first jagged piece of anything that you've seen in this cave system, a jagged crack in the wall. And then at the bottom of that jagged crack, about 3 feet high is a perfectly round, smooth hole through the wall to a large cavern on the other side that seems to be glowing with blue light, a fierce blue light beyond this small antechamber that you're in.
There doesn't appear to be anything in this small chamber that I'm in.
Not that you can see. It's
Okay.
not a large... It's small. It's maybe 10 or 15 feet wide. And then the far wall, again, jagged crack at the top that has been just hollowed out at the bottom into a perfectly round space that passes through. It's only about 3 or 4 feet high. You could fit through it if you had to. If you crawled, probably. But the crack in the wall is what's allowing the light into this area and a little bit up the tunnel, but it is a fierce blue light beyond there.
So you said the round hole that's in at the bottom of the crack is smaller than the hole we've been going through?
Yes.
Okay.
The hole that you've been traveling through, the tunnel, is about 5 feet tall. This one is about 3 feet.
Okay. And from me to the opening of the small hole,
10 to 15 feet.
I will move up and duck down to see if I can look through to see what's on the other side.
You're going to look through the hole instead of the crack?
Yeah.
Like imagine a flat wall with almost like a lightning bolt style crack in the wall. It's about 6 inches wide at the top. It kind of narrows down, and then somebody's carved it out into a perfect round hole.
Could I have a clearer view through the hole
You
at the
would have
bottom?
a clearer view.
Okay, yeah, I'll just
Okay.
stoop and...
Move over and stoop and look down, and tell me what would happen in this situation as Abo looks through this hole, as you stoop in, and you're hearing this skittering, scratching noise from inside this large chamber and this fierce blue light. When you look down into that, if there was movement about 3 feet away, would Abo maintain his cool? Would he flinch? What would he do?
I had already heard the scratching before.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably flinch a little bit, but I think I would be purposely still trying to stay quiet.
Okay. So as you bend down and look, there's a moment where you're looking into a very bright room. You've been traveling in the darkness. Your eyes are accustomed to that sort of thing. But you're looking into a room that is bright as the noonday sun of blue light. And when you look through this small hole, you have heard noises, but I don't think you necessarily expected something to be quite that close. The wall itself, with the crack and the hole, is about 3 feet deep. And immediately on the other side of it, as you look through, you see, at first you're not sure what it is as it moves past the opening, but you see one long, what turns out to be a leg of some sort of an insectoid creature. You see a hard exoskeleton with everything has a blue tint right now, so you're not sure exactly what color this thing would be. But these long, 4 long legs that kind of walk on very pointed feet past this this hole. You can't see the upper half of the creature. The 3 foot tall hole only covers up the edge of its legs. There is a taller creature.
Don't see any of the body of it at all.
Just
legs.
you see the lower abdomen and thorax of the creature, covered in chitinous shell, spikes and little horns that protrude out at strange angles. You see the backs of its long legs have like little hairs on the back of them, and it just kind of skitters past the hole, and you can hear that close to you. It looks like it was walking by, and then further into the cave, you see the source of the glowing blue light as you see a piece of umber-like crystal larger than the ship that you arrived on, glowing fiercely blue. From your vantage point, it looks like this cavern is built around this crystal, and you see this cavern is 100, 200, maybe 300 feet deep to the far side, and you can see movement on walkways and terraces and tunnels. You see movement from your very limited vantage point. You have no number that you can put to this other than the first thing that makes you think of is at one point disturbing an anthill when you were out in the forest. And you do see on the far side of the 3-foot hole just the edge of what looks like it slopes up to a larger piece, but you see a layer of orange glowing it's not glowing, but you can see a layer of this viscous substance, not orange in the blue light, but you can tell what it is on the far side of this hole. So there is that substance inside this cavern.
But there's also a veritable army of insectoid creatures.
Does seem to be. Back in the tunnel, Theric, Abo's been gone for 30 seconds to a minute. You can hear Ranford audibly growing impatient as he's kind of like leaning around the edge of the corkscrew, looking for where Avo went. Webb is taken to pacing back and forth behind you as he keeps an eye behind you.
I'll just be like, shh, calm down, guys. It'll be all right. We haven't heard him scream yet, so he must be okay. Either that, or we need to run the other way.
And you hear Webb say, "Yet, yeah, we haven't heard him scream yet."
Look, if we hear it, we'll go see what's going on and help him.
Okay. Give me let's call it a performance check. Or no, let's call it a persuasion check.
Same thing.
Okay.
17.
Okay. Your soothing words and calm presence does manage to bring the two men, Ranford and Webb, to a little bit more of a calm place. Ranford does not stop watching behind you with the crossbow, but Webb has gone back to a, I'm on guard, I'm waiting stance. Lonnie and Nani seem unfazed by this entire endeavor. They're just standing next to you, kind of watching. Lonnie has taken an interest in your lantern, but beyond that, they're pretty calm right now.
I am going to quietly backtrack back to the group.
Okay. You managed to make it back in... You think you were out and looking around for maybe 2 minutes. You sneak back, and shortly thereafter, Avo's form comes ducking back around the corner. You can see as Avo comes back the little faint glow of blue on his shoulders as he steps back around.
Well, I believe I found more of the substance that we're looking for, but I also found the residents of this cavern.
Residents? What residents? I see no residents.
Some kind of insectoid creatures. A lot of them. Large.
I hate bugs. You hear Webb grumble from behind.
And I found a huge umbrelite crystal. I'm assuming it is probably what's keeping this island afloat.
Ooh.
So,
did you tell these insect things we come in peace?
I didn't attempt to speak to them because I'm not sure if they speak.
Oh.
Ranford says, "Is there any way we can get to the adhesive without them noticing?"
Possibly.
We get a couple buckets of that. We can get back to the ship and...
If we can get out of here without them even noticing we're here, that'd probably be optimal. We need deft hands.
I just kind of look around. I might be able to get in there and get it.
Lonnie and Nani also waggle their fingers at you when you say that.
It's and it's a small cavern, or it's a small hole into a large cavern. So smaller people would probably
hold my hand out for a high five.
Yeah, they each give you a high five. And then I think that Nani puts her cleaver away. They each take a bucket in hand, and Webb will hand you his bucket, Theric. says, if we have a few buckets of that, Ranford is talking. He says, if we have a few buckets of that, we can get the ship repaired, and then we've got a little bit more leverage.
We can move up into, there's a small chamber up ahead, into that. If things go sideways, I'll join you in the large cavern, but hopefully you can get in and out without drawing any attention.
Okay.
Lonnie and Nani immediately start walking forward with their buckets. Ranford and Webb are trailing along after them, and I imagine that Avo and Theric.
Theric will bring up the rear for Lonnie and Nani.
Okay. Is your lantern still lit?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I still need it. I can't see without it.
Well, as you get further along, you realize you could see without it, because that very bright. It gets to be a point where as you get to the antechamber, the glow of the blue, even through the crack, is
Then
you
I
could
will-
read by this light.
I will dispel the light.
Okay, so you dispel the light from the canary lantern as you arrive at the antechamber. Ranford and Webb spread out to the left and right of this hole, kind of keeping a guard, and Lonnie and Nani kind of crouch, waiting on the sides of the hole, waiting for orders from the two of you. The two of you have assumed control of the group at this point. You've been put in command of the crew.
I'm like, go ahead, and Lonnie, Nani, I'll bring up the rear.
Okay, they nod and are going to sneak in. All right. Are you sneaking as well?
Yeah, I'll sneak through. I don't even have to get on my. I just have to duck a little bit to make it to this 3-foot hole. Theric doesn't even have to duck his head, just a little bit. He's only 3'1".
Okay.
It's a 3-foot hole, and I'm just going to kind of duck and make my way through the hole with a bucket.
Okay, give me a stealth check. And what is Avo doing in the meantime?
Crouched and ready just on the far side of the small tunnel,
Okay.
waiting.
As you watch your three small companions duck through the hole, they leave sight, and you are left with Ranford and Webb standing in the antechamber, with only the sounds of that occasional skittering and chittering and clack on stone from the bigger chamber on the other side. Theric, you duck through this little hole and arrive in a massive chamber, 200 to 300 feet across, cavern. You notice a few things. You're very perceptive. The walls, the floors, everything in this room is smooth, as you've noticed. The only thing you've seen, and you did see it before you stepped through the hole, was that small crack that led to the antechamber. Everything in this room is smooth, and hanging in the middle of this gigantic circular chamber is a gigantic umbrelite crystal, probably 100 feet long, and maybe 50 feet wide. You see so many things all at once. You see next to the hole there is a large pile of this orange gooey substance that Lonnie and Nani are already quickly digging at with their buckets to fill. To the right, they're to the left. To the right, along a walkway that you're standing on, about 100 feet away, in a circular fashion. Like imagine almost like being inside of a stadium, a circular stadium, because there are tiers to this that move down further into the room as well as up. But 100 feet away, on the same level as you see 5 strange insect creatures that travel on 4 legs at the bottom, but have another 2 arms up top. The 2 arms that are up top are not traveling legs. They don't seem to be prehensile, because at the end of the arms, instead of claws or mandibles or pincers like you've seen on some animals, these end in long scythe-like blades that are grown into their exoskeleton. They have kind of angular, triangular heads. It looks like they've got a row of eyes on each side of their head, that travel from the top to the bottom. They've got long fangs in the front rather than mandibles, and they're kind of moving along. And you see they seem to be moving in an intelligent, almost formation-like. They're not traveling the way you've seen insects travel. They're traveling with some intelligence.
Can they fit through the hole?
If they ducked, they probably could. They'd have to squeeze through. More troubling than the 5 that are about 100 feet away walking towards you. And I think more troubling just based on the level of intelligence that Theric is able to muster on what you know to be true. The crystal that hangs in the middle of the cavern is only attached to the island at the top. And as you look down, it looks like it was at one point attached at the bottom as well. And you see a swarm of these creatures at the bottom eating away at the stone and have detached the bottom part of this stone from the island. And you get this dread chill as you look up, and you can see the stone spire that connects the crystal at the top is covered in the insect-like creatures as they're eating away at the stone that connects the crystal at the top.
We gotta hurry.
And that will be where we end for today. Tune in next time.
Brilliant.
This has been Gen XP. Thanks for listening. Catch you next week.